Hello, everyone, and welcome to John Higgins Film Review. I am the aforementioned John Higgins, and I'm delighted to welcome one and all to this interview with Ukrainian actress and filmmaker Tatjana Anders. And we're here to talk about her short film, Your Reality. This is about domestic abuse and relationships and about the process of gaslighting. But what's significant is this film has actually crossed 6 million views on YouTube, which is an amazing achievement. Anybody who aspires to anything is lucky to get thousands, but really, really good. So we're going to talk a little bit about the film, but firstly, Tatjana, warm welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So just explain to people. I mean, there might be people out there who are just curious to know what gaslighting is. I mean, we sometimes there might be naive people about it. So perhaps you can sort of give us a kind of a definitive definition of what that is.
Sure. Gaslighting really is this insidious act of manipulating someone and over a long period of time undermining their self-belief, their belief in themselves, and to a point also their reality. So they keep telling them kind of like, this is not what happened, like you made it all up, or you're not actually like mm, feeling what you're feeling. Like they're basically undermining kind of like what you're feeling in a particular moment. So it's there's a lot of elements actually kind of like coming together. It's not just like one thing, but the result is always the same. The result is like the victim, the person who's being gaslit kind of like ends up being confused completely, loses sort of like grip on their reality, and just becomes like a shell of themselves because they don't know who to believe. They feel like they can't do anything on their own. So yeah, it's quite um quite a difficult situation to be going through.
Hmm. And so let's talk a little bit about the process of writing the script, because obviously you're writing a very challenging film. I mean, what was the start off point? I mean, how long did it take to write? I mean, what was the kind of the process getting to where you wanted to for the script?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the idea came to me, in fact, because my husband back then, boyfriend, um, he read this article about gaslighting, and like a couple of weeks before that, we were just talking about scripts, and I'm like, I really want to write something, but I just don't want to write something random. I'm really interested in psychology. And I kind of want to write something with meaning, something that can help people in one way or another. And yeah, and then he came across this article and he sent it to me. And I was like, wow, that sounds exactly like what happened to my friend. So, like, straight away, there was a personal connection for me, where, I saw her going through this relationship and how it messed her up in so many different ways. And I really wanted to raise awareness on this topic, and also I wanted to do justice. So I started researching. I probably did like a couple of months only just like reading books about it and watching interviews and watching lots of YouTube videos. There's a lot of really amazing content on YouTube, just like about the psychology behind it, why people fall trapped to gaslighters, like what are the red flags you have to look out for. Then I also looked for lots of different forums. I was trying to obviously, I talked to some friends, and a lot of people came forward to me being like, yeah, I was in a similar relationship. So I was just trying to like understand it as much as possible. And then I wrote the story, and it was really important to me that the audience, when they watch the short film, that they feel like they are themselves being gaslit in one way or another. So they're actually not sure what's happening over time. And that is kind of like because a lot of the people are like, oh, when they get to the ending, they're like, wow, that's a big reveal. And in the beginning, also, they're sometimes not sure who is the perpetrator, who is the gaslighter. So that is kind of like that was been done on purpose. And yeah, I've kind of like done a couple of drafts, and then I joined this group, which was like a script writers feedback group. And I submitted my film, and obviously a bunch of other people submitted theirs, and we would kind of like meet up every week and discuss each other's scripts and give feedback. And mine was also discussed, and one of the people there was Top Tarasin, who was a director, and he basically he really liked it, and he came up to me afterwards, and he was like, you know, who's going to be directing it? Like, do you have anyone in mind, etc. And I was like, no, I'd love to find someone who is, you know, who is interested to do it. And he's like, I'll do it. And I'm like, okay, let's get you on board. And meanwhile, like I haven't even seen any of his work, but he turned out to be amazing. So I don't know, it was kind of just like all fell into place. It probably took me probably like 6 months at least, to be fair, to complete it, but maybe even longer. But yeah, that was sort of like the creation of it.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your cast, and we'll talk a little bit about the rehearsal, and obviously such a difficult topic.
Mm.
So tell us a bit about your cast, and then tell us a bit about the actual the process of rehearsal that you went through, because these are quite emotional scenes. I mean, anybody who sees the movie, you can tell. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so it's a very small cast. It's only three people. So it's me, then the antagonist, Mark, um, played by Kyle James, and there's a friend who is MJ Lee, um, portraying the friend Sophie. So I cast MJ Lee because I worked with her before, and it just kind of like she had the right vibe for it, and I knew she was a great actress, so that was really easy. Mark's character was much more difficult, so I initially actually had someone else in mind, but he had a conflict of schedule, like usually it happens. And then Kyle came to mind. We did like a read through together, actually, kind of like a couple of months before that. And I was like, I actually quite like his energy because he comes across as very, very confident, and probably also being American. I don't know. There's just something really charming and confident about Americans, just how they say things. And I thought that he would be just a really good pick. And I think, yeah, I think it was the right choice. And when Top then came on board, he was like, okay, let's do a bit of rehearsal. So we met up on like neutral ground. Was it BFI? I don't know, somewhere or on the South Bank somewhere, and we just had Top came prepared with some sketches because he also does storyboards. So he created some storyboards, and we just like talked through the roles, and then we I think rehearsed some of the scenes, but we kind of just did it really loosely, to be honest. We didn't like rehearse it too much. Um, Most of it just happened on set. We kind of just went for it, to be honest. I don't even think we rehearsed it that many times before filming. And Funnily enough, even like with emotional scenes, sometimes I prefer not to rehearse it too much because it's a tricky one. Like obviously you want to know the positioning of the camera and stuff, but for really emotional stuff, like you have to give it your all, and then you don't want to rehearse and like give too all too early. So for those I just kind of like one usually like to do it on camera, and then worst case you can do it several times, but it's just nicer to kind of like keep it in and then just let it all out.
Mhm. Okay, so let's talk about your production team. You said that you had a small cast. I mean, how compact was your production team?
Very compact as well. I had the art director Lottie, who did brilliantly. She kind of like helped dress, who I worked with before as well. She was actually a stylist on another short film I was cast in, and we just got along really well. And then we had Jake Lewis, who's a brilliant, brilliant cinematographer. So he came on board, and really kind of like supported the project as well, because he also brought his gear, which was really, really good for us. Because he's got some amazing, you know, lights and camera. So we didn't have to hire that extra. And then we had AJ who came on board as second director, second AD, and sort of helped produce stuff as well. Who else? Yeah, and we had a few other like people just kind of like came together. A lot of people kind of I worked with before, because it's such a small project, and a lot of people were just there because they wanted to support it. Obviously, you know, we paid people, but it wasn't like massive amounts. So it was, yeah, people were there because I really wanted to be there, and because they were, you know, wanted to be part of this project. So, and everyone sort of came with their own creative ideas on like how to improve it, you know, and um yeah, it was like such a beautiful collaboration, because I felt like, you know, I had obviously a vision, but then other people took that vision and made it better. So yeah, it was just like a beautiful feeling.
Okay. And how long, where did you shoot and for how long?
It was like all done in 1 week, and we shot for the flat scenes. We literally just like hired an Airbnb flat. We asked them if we were allowed to shoot in there, and they were okay with it, luckily. And then we did sort of like most of the outdoor scenes, and to be honest, and we shot most of it there. And then we had like a cafe scene and a bar scene, and that was, yeah, pretty much it, to be honest. It was very, very, like, I kind of wrote it with that in mind as well. I wanted to make it doable, because a lot of, I feel like, you know, startup filmmakers create these amazing short films and write these amazing scenarios, and, you know, uh, and then it's really hard to shoot them because they're like 20 locations. And so yeah, we just literally shot it all in one week. And yeah, the outdoor scenes, we kind of like just combined them all into one, and we found this really cool cafe that we managed to hire. And literally we did most of the things in there before they even opened. So it was like, it was very lean, very lean production.
Okay, so let's talk about the 6 million views on YouTube. I mean, obviously, to have that kind of reach for a short film on YouTube is incredible. So congratulations. How has
Thank
it
you.
impacted people? I mean, do you get what's the reaction out there on, I mean, it's an online,
Mm.
you know, I mean, obviously we have streaming, but this is a YouTube thing. What's the reaction like out there for this?
Yeah, it's been incredible. I mean, I think views is one thing, but obviously like obviously it's amazing, but the fact that people also leave comments and tell about their stories, and also share it with their friends, and um I feel like I honestly didn't expect it to go this big. It just really did strike a nerve with a lot of people, and I've received personal emails and messages as well, both on, you know, my Instagram, and people, you know, find my email addresses and reach out to me from time to time. And, you know, some people just say like that, how much it helped them, to be honest. And a lot of people were able to leave like an abusive partner, had the courage to do it, you know, had like the perspective shift where they saw themselves kind of like from that outside perspective, where they're like, wow, this is me. You know, I'm the person, I'm the protagonist in this film, basically. And they realized that they no longer wanted to be in that relationship. So I think that that is probably the biggest reward for me, for like knowing that my short film was able to impact someone's life in the way that, you know, they could escape a miserable relationship, which didn't make them happy. Um, I don't know. I mean, it kind of really affects me a lot, to be honest. Like I feel like this is really deep, and this is kind of like the reason why I wanted to make this film.
Hmm. So obviously one of the big things I often ask this to the filmmakers who come on the channel. Diversity and gender. Now, obviously, diversity and gender are big things in the industry at the moment. I mean, obviously,
Mm.
we are still feeling the after effects of Time's Up and Me Too. I mean, where do you feel you are in this process at the moment? And I mean, do you feel that where do you feel that progress has been made with all this kind of enlightenment? And also, where do you feel progress still needs to be made?
I think there is definitely much, like it's much better than it used to be. Um, I think that there is many more roles for more diverse people. I know that when I first came to UK, um, there was like even for like Eastern European people, there weren't many roles out there. Like, you know what I mean? It was always like the stereotypical stuff. Um, and then obviously myself as well. So I'm currently writing slash not writing, wanting to like produce the feature film. And for the feature film, we want to be a bit more diverse as well with the cast. Obviously, with a short film, it was all very small and it was very kind of uh just like done on a tight budget, and we didn't have a casting director or anything, so it was very, very limited, and I didn't really kind of like think too much about it. um I do honestly, to the point where I cast those guys, MJ and Kyle, and then when we were like doing the film, I was like, oh, so I cast an American and a Canadian, and I don't really have like an accent in a way. Like I was like, so I guess I should kind of base the whole thing in the US or something. I don't know. It was really like an afterthought. I don't think I know there was one scene where we're like in the cafe in the beginning where we were just like, oh wait, if it's set in the US, we should like put the prices in dollars. And then I remember Lottie, she was sort of just converting, I don't know, like £3 or something for a coffee, £4 for a coffee into like $4 for a coffee. And then people commenting being like, where have you seen prices like this? This doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, yeah, that's because we didn't really think about it. But yeah. But
Okay.
in terms of, yes, yeah, in terms of diversity, 100% this is something that we are looking into for the feature film.
Great. I mean, talking of which, I mean, so just to clarify, are you planning to expand this short into a feature? Is that what your plan is?
Yeah, so the script is already done. And the idea really is to kind of like keep the story similar-ish, but expand the characters, their backstories, their families. So kind of like expand it that way, but also expand in terms of like what is the end of it? Like what happens after, she finds out, or like where does it all lead? Is there a happy ending, or is there like a mid-happy ending? I don't know. So really the idea is to give it more airtime and to expand on the story and expand on the characters and their kind of, the people around them. There's a lot of juicy stuff that needs still to be uncovered. And obviously in a short film, I mean, how much can you possibly, put in there? I mean, we tried our best, really, but in reality, the gaslighting happens over a couple of years. Like most of the time, it takes years and years of time. So there is just like so much to it, and it's really hard to put it in a short film. It's the topic itself lends itself much better to feature films.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about where did you study filmmaking, and talk a little bit about your key cinematic influences.
Oh, that's a good question. I never studied filmmaking. I'm an actress by trade. I studied acting slash I didn't go to drama school, but I have been training for must be like 8 years now, kind of privately. Slash I'm just going to like an acting it's called instinctual acting, and it's like a I have a private coach, but we also do workshops, so it's like two things really. And I studied business actually, which is maybe the reason why I kind of approached it filmmaking from slightly more business perspective than most filmmakers do. I don't know. But I I feel like my film influences have changed a lot as well over, so obviously with getting Top Terrassen on board, so I was kind of like relying more on him to bring in the visual and the ideas behind like how to film it and how to frame it, etc., etc. Whereas I was more interested in the story and the acting obviously of it as well. Whereas now I'm getting more and more interested in filmmaking, but I would say that I would still consider myself to be primarily an actor and potentially script writer as well. Even that I feel is, I don't find it easy writing scripts. Like I don't find it easy writing in general, but when I get into a flow, I do enjoy it. But it's just like there's so many distractions. It's really hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Two final questions before we wrap up. I mean, what issues and themes are you keen to explore in future work?
Mm-hmm. I'm currently also working on like a TV/web series about mental health in general. I think because again, mental health is something that is close to heart because of the people it has affected, or in my immediate surroundings slash myself. And I kind of just want to talk a little bit more about it and raise awareness on the subject matter. But I kind of wanted to make it a bit more lighthearted. I don't want to. I think it was good to create your reality in like a suspense thriller sort of setting. Whereas I wanted to be, I want people to feel good about talking about mental health and addressing their mental health rather than it being like a negative thing, if that makes sense. So I want to create this like positive vibration, positive feeling that is associated with it. Um, so that's sort of like my main next thing that I'm gonna do once we're done with your reality feature.
Right. And my final question is what are you most proud of about your reality as a short and as a piece of work?
I think I'm most proud about how it has touched people and how it managed to get people out of, bad situations. I hope so at least. At least that's what I've been told by people who reach out to me. So I think that is my like most amazing achievement that I'm really, really proud of. And to be honest with you, that's all I ever wanted when I, set out to create this film. I think that was sort of like my biggest inspiration to like actually make an impact. It feels incredibly good to, see people change and improve their life through my work. I think that's very, very rewarding.
Great. Tatjana Anders, thank you so much for your time and insights today. I mean, congratulations. And as I
Thank you,
say, just
John.
yeah, no, you're welcome. And just wrap it up. If you want to be one add to the 6 million who've already seen it on YouTube, go and seek out the film Your Reality and be touched and enlightened by it. And as I say, if you do have friends out there and who are in the middle of an abusive relationship, do help them. It's very important that they get the best thing, the best life that they can. And if you are aware of anybody, let people know, let the police, let the authorities know, and do that. So
Mm.
wrapping up, thanks again, Tatjana. Wrapping up, this interview plus others can be seen on my YouTube channel, John Higgins Film Review. We have a lot of content on there where we celebrate independent filmmakers like Tatjana, support independent filmmakers, independent festivals. I champion independent festivals like the Paris International Film Festival and the London Independent Film Festival, which is held every April. And you can sort of read some more articles and reviews of mine on film and TV now as well. So on that note, Tatjana, I will leave you thus, and thank you very much for watching.
Thank you so much for having me.